Okay, let's unpack this. We usually think of medicine as this, solid, unshakable thing.
Right.
You go to the doctor, you have a problem, say a heart attack, and there's this specific stone-carved rule that says, thou shalt take this pill. It feels automatic.
It feels safe because it's familiar.
Yeah.
We call it medical dogma. It's when a treatment becomes so established, so routine,
Yeah.
that the whole system develops this muscle memory.
Yeah.
We stop asking if it works and just focus on making sure everyone gets it.
And today we are talking about maybe the biggest celebrity in that medicine cabinet, the beta blocker. If you or anyone you know has had a heart attack, odds are beta blockers are part of the breakfast ritual.
Oh, absolutely.
It's the shield, right? It's
Yeah.
the thing standing between you and the next one.
For decades, yes. It has been the cornerstone.
Mm-hmm.
But here is the uncomfortable question we have to ask today. What if that shield is actually made of paper?
Oof.
Or to put it another way, what if you're carrying a heavy shield around for a war that's already over?
That is a terrifying thought for a patient. But we are looking at a massive new piece of research,
Huge.
a meta-analysis involving over 17,000 patients that suggests we might be overtreating a huge chunk of heart attack survivors.
We're basically asking a heretical question. Does everyone who survives a heart attack actually need these drugs?
Or is it just habit?
Or are we just prescribing them out of habit?
So our mission for this deep dive is to look at this potential breakup, the breakup between doctors and beta blockers for a very specific group of patients.
And that specific group part is so critical.
I want to emphasize that, right up front, because I don't want anyone listening to panic.
Right, we are not saying beta blockers are useless. If you have heart failure or major arrhythmias, these drugs are absolute lifesavers. Please do not stop taking them.
Okay.
But the study we are dissecting today looks at a very large, very common group of patients where the rules might be changing.
Okay, let's set the scene. Who exactly are we talking about here? Because heart attack survivor sounds like a pretty broad category.
It is. The study focused on patients with recent myocardial infarction. That's the heart attack. But, and this is the crucial part, they had a preserved left ventricular ejection fraction.
Okay, left ventricular ejection fraction. That sounds like something from a mechanic's manual. Let's decode that for everybody.
Think of your heart as a pump. The left ventricle is the main chamber that squeezes oxygenated blood out to the rest of the body.
Got it.
The ejection fraction, or LVEF, is just a percentage. It's a score of how much blood gets pumped out with each beat.
So what's a passing grade on that test?
Anything 50% or higher is considered normal or, near normal.
Wait, 50% is normal. That sounds like an F on a math test.
In cardiology, 50% is a solid pass. It means the pump is working efficiently.
Okay.
So the patients in this study, they had a heart attack, they had a blockage, a scare, maybe a stent put in, but the actual muscle of the pump wasn't destroyed. Their heart is still squeezing effectively.
So, play devil's advocate for me here. If these researchers only looked at people with good pumps, isn't that kind of cherry picking? Are we just looking at the healthiest sick people?
That's a fair challenge, but it's actually the entire point of the study.
Okay.
We already know beta blockers help people with bad pumps, people with heart failure. We know that. The question mark has always been around the people whose hearts recovered well.
Do they need it?
Do they need to be on a medication that slows down their heart rate and lowers their blood pressure if their heart is already pumping just fine?
I see. So it's isolating the variable. It's asking, does the beta blocker help simply because you had a heart attack, regardless of how well your heart is working afterward?
Precisely. And they made sure to exclude anyone who had other reasons to take the drug, like an arrhythmia. So it's a very clean comparison.
Tell me about the scale of this thing, because we see studies all the time that turn out to be like 50 people in a basement.
This is the opposite of that. This is big data. We're talking about 17,801 patients. And this wasn't just a standard meta-analysis where you read the summaries of 5 different papers and average them out. This was a meta-analysis at the individual patient level.
Break that down for us. Why is the individual part such a big deal?
Okay, so imagine you're trying to analyze a baseball season. A standard meta-analysis is like looking at the box scores of 5 games and averaging the final scores.
Okay.
But an individual patient analysis is like getting the game tapes, watching every single at-bat for every single player, and building a massive new data set from scratch.
So they went back to the raw spreadsheets.
They did. They took the raw data from 5 major trials, Reboot, which was the giant with nearly 7,500 people, plus Reduce-AMI, Beta-Me, Dan Block, and Capital RCT. They pooled every single patient, into one giant bucket.
That sounds incredibly robust. And how did they split them up? Was it an even split?
Almost exactly down the middle. You had 8,831 patients assigned to take beta blockers and 8,970 assigned to, well, nothing. Standard care, but no beta blockers.
And how long did they watch them? Because a heart attack isn't a 2-week problem, it's a rest of your life problem.
They tracked these people for a median of 3.6 years. Some were followed for over 4.5 years.
That's a long time.
In the world of clinical trials, that is a long time. It's enough time to see if the drug is actually preventing future disasters.
Okay, so before we get to the results, the big reveal, I want to understand the why. Why has this been the standard for so long if we're now questioning it? I mean, doctors aren't just making this up. Beta blockers must have earned their reputation, right?
They absolutely did. But context is everything. Most of the pivotal trials that made beta blockers famous were done in the 1980s.
The era of big hair and neon leg warmers, medicine was a little different back then.
Very different. Back then, if you had a heart attack, we didn't have the technology we have today. We didn't have high-tech stents to prop open arteries immediately. We didn't have high-intensity statins to crush cholesterol.
So the heart was basically left to fend for itself a lot more.
Exactly. The heart took a beating. In that environment, beta blockers were crucial because they lowered the workload on a damaged heart. They were doing the heavy lifting because there wasn't much else in the toolkit.
But now,
If you have a heart attack, you're usually in a cath lab within hours. The plumbing is fixed. The blood flow is restored. You're put on statins and aspirin. The background care is so good that the heart muscle is often preserved.
so the theory is that the beta blocker has become redundant. It's like wearing a belt and suspenders, but you also went to a tailor who made the pants fit perfectly.
That is a great analogy. The question is, are the suspenders actually doing anything anymore, or are they just uncomfortable?
All right, let's look at the scoreboard. 17,000 patients, half with the suspenders, the beta blockers, half without. Did the drugs prevent the bad stuff?
So they looked for a primary endpoint, which was a combination of 3 major events: death from any cause, a new heart attack, or new heart failure.
The big 3.
The event rates were almost identical. In the beta blocker group, 717 patients experienced one of those events. That's 8.1%.
Okay. And the group that didn't take the drug?
748 patients, that's 8.3%.
Wait, 8.1% versus 8.3%? That's basically the same number.
It is statistically indistinguishable. The hazard ratio was 0.97.
I always get tripped up on hazard ratios. Walk me through that number. Is a 0.97 good, bad?
Think of 1.0 as the tie game. If the hazard ratio is 1.0, the drug did absolutely nothing different than the placebo.
A wash.
It's a wash. A 0.97 means the risk was technically 3% lower, but, and this is the huge but, you have to look at the confidence interval.
The margin of error.
Right. The confidence interval here went from 0.87 to 1.07. Because that range crosses the number 1.0, statistically, we can't say the difference is real.
It could just be noise.
It could just be random noise. The p-value is 0.54, which in science terms means nothing to see here.
That is wild to me. Can we just sit with that for a second? 17,000 people. And for the people taking this pill every single day for years, it basically did nothing to prevent the big 3 outcomes compared to the people who took nothing.
It forces us to confront the fact that medical dogma can lag behind reality. But it gets even stickier when we drill down into the specific types of events.
Oh.
Because usually the argument is, okay, maybe it didn't help the overall score, but it saves lives.
Right. That's the ultimate metric. Did it prevent deaths?
This is the part of the data that made me double take. When they looked strictly at death from any cause, the beta blocker group actually had more deaths.
Whoa, hold on. More. You're telling me the people taking the heart medication died more often?
Slightly more, yes. There were 335 deaths in the group taking the beta blockers, compared to 326 deaths in the group taking nothing.
That sounds terrifying. Doesn't that mean the drug is dangerous?
We have to be really responsible here. The hazard ratio was 1.04. But just like with the previous number, the confidence interval crosses 1.0.
So it's a wash.
It is statistically a wash. We cannot say the beta blockers killed people. That would be bad science.
Okay, so it's not that the drug is a killer. It's just that it definitely wasn't a lifesaver.
Exactly. The center of gravity for the data is no benefit. But the fact that the raw number was higher in the treatment group, that really puts a nail in the coffin of the idea that we're doing this to save lives.
What about a second heart attack? That's the other big fear. I survived one. Please don't let me have another.
There was a slight trend towards benefit there, but again, it's the blurry Bigfoot problem.
A blurry
You
Bigfoot.
see a shadow in the woods, it might be Bigfoot, it might be a bear, it might be a tree stump.
Right.
You can't call the newspaper and say you found Bigfoot. The hazard ratio was 0.89, which looks like an 11% reduction, but the confidence interval went up to 1.03.
So because it crosses that line.
It means we can't rule out chance. It's not proof, it's a blurry photo. And in medicine, you don't prescribe millions of pills based on a blurry photo.
So across the board, death, heart attack, heart failure, it's zeros. It's a tie game.
For patients with normal pumping function, yes.
So here's the part where I get a little frustrated on behalf of the patient. Because if the drug isn't doing anything helpful, it's not neutral, is it? Taking a pill isn't a cost-free activity.
This is the pill burden conversation.
Yeah.
And it is so important. We often look at these studies and just look at survival rates.
Yeah.
We forget what it's like to actually live on these drugs.
Right. It's not just a tic-tac. Beta blockers do things to your body.
They block adrenaline. That's how they work. They slow the heart, lower the pressure. But what does that feel like? For many patients, it feels like walking through mud.
The zombie mode.
Yes. Fatigue is huge. Exercise intolerance. You try to go for a jog, and your heart just won't rev up to meet the demand. You feel heavy.
And there are other things people don't like to talk about. Sexual dysfunction, depression, sleep issues.
Exactly. So if I tell you, hey, take this pill, it might make you tired, it might affect your sex life, it costs money,
Yeah.
and in exchange, it will do absolutely nothing for your survival, would you take it?
I throw it in the trash.
But for 30 years, the deal was, take this pill, suffer the side effects, but it will keep you alive. That was a fair trade.
Right.
This study says the trade is no longer fair.
That's a massive shift in the quality of life calculation. It's the difference between being alive and actually living.
And that's where the concept of deprescribing comes in. It's not a failure of care to take someone off a drug. It's actually a higher level of precision medicine.
It feels risky, though, doesn't it? Psychologically. I mean, if I'm a patient, that pill is my security blanket. If the doctor says stop taking it, I feel like I'm walking the tightrope without a net.
That is a very real psychological hurdle. We condition patients to believe the pill's the magic. But the net isn't the beta blocker anymore. The net is the stent. The net is the statin. The net is the lifestyle changes.
The beta blocker is just the old itchy wool sweater you're wearing over the net.
And taking it off allows you to move freely again.
So let's bring this home. What does this mean for the future? Does this change the guidelines tomorrow?
Guidelines move like glaciers. They are slow. But this data is undeniable. We are already seeing major cardiology societies debating this. I think we're going to see a shift from everyone gets a beta blocker to only high-risk patients get a beta blocker.
It empowers the doctors to be selective. Instead of just checking a box on a form, because that's what we do, they have to look at the patient's LVEF and say, you know what, your pump is good. You don't need this burden.
And that is a victory for evidence-based medicine. It shows we are willing to check our work. We aren't just robots following a script written in 1985.
Just to recap, because I want to make sure everyone gets the headline here. We looked at over 17,000 patients, all heart attack survivors, all with normal heart function, LVEF over 50%.
And that data showed that beta blocker therapy did not reduce the risk of death, did not significantly reduce the risk of another heart attack, and did not prevent heart failure.
But, and I'm going to use my serious voice here, nobody listening should play doctor today.
Please, do not flush your meds. Do not stop cold turkey. Beta blocker withdrawal can be dangerous. This is a conversation.
A conversation starter.
Exactly. Print out the study, take it to your cardiologist, and ask, do I fit this profile?
It's amazing to think about how much effort it takes to stop doing something in medicine. We always think progress is adding new things, new robots, new lasers, new pills.
That's human nature. We think doing something is better than doing nothing. But sometimes, the most sophisticated thing you can do is subtraction.
Subtraction as innovation. I love that.
If we can prove that doing less is just as safe and makes people feel better, that's the holy grail.
It leaves you wondering, doesn't it? If the beta blocker is falling off the pedestal, what else is in that medicine cabinet just because of habit? What other standard routines are we going to look back on in 10 years and say, why did we do that?
That is the question that keeps researchers up at night. And it's the reason we keep looking at the data.
Well, I'm glad you're looking at it so we don't have to read 17,000 spreadsheets.
Happy to do it.
Thanks for walking us through it. And to our listener, thanks for trusting us with your time. Stay curious, ask questions, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.